All right, here we go. Thank you very much, participants. We are now ready to go. So, as I was saying, our presenter is Mrs. Benita Barboen, and she's a manager in the exam development and production department here at CXC. She has considerable years of teaching experience, with experience in the teachers college as well as a high school, and she will share with you some important strategies and useful strategies that you can use to tackle and approach your upcoming multiple choice exams. So at this moment, I'm going to turn over to our presenter. But before I do so, I just want to share with you a few of our ground rules. This space is considered a safe space. So all views content here, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to ask them. We are prepared to answer as many questions as you have. You can either use our Q&A area or question and answer area to pose your questions, or our chat area. Also, our presenter will open up the mics at the end of the presentation to take questions if you would like to share them verbally. But we are prepared to answer all your questions, and we don't expect that this session will last more than the hour. So we thank you for waiting, and let's now get on with it. Mrs. Benita Barboen, I turn over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody, students, parents, other interested parties. I hope you're having a good time, and I hope you're well and staying safe in this new normal. I wish you all the best in your studies and your upcoming examinations. During this session, we have 3 objectives. First, we'd like to provide general guidelines for preparing for examinations. Most of you will only have the submission of the school-based assessment and the paper 1, your multiple choice examinations, but there are some candidates who will write additional examinations in addition to orals. We'd like to review types of multiple choice items, and following on from that, suggest strategies for answering multiple choice items. The presentation will be divided into 3 broad areas: before the examination, during the examination, and after the examination. Before the examination. The first thing, or one of the first things you should do, is know your examination timetable. CXC has published an updated timetable as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that timetable is available on our website, www.cxc.org. However, that timetable is a timetable for all students and all subjects. To better organize yourself, you should check that timetable and make a note of when your subjects are scheduled. Create your own personal schedule of the dates of your examination. Save that schedule in your mobile phone, on the wall of your bedroom, on the door of the kitchen fridge. It is important that you know when your exams are scheduled and that you do not miss any examinations. Remember to check in with your friends who are writing the same papers to ensure that everybody is aware of when their exams are scheduled and when they have to head off to the center. The other thing that you need to do when you check your examination timetable is to ensure that there are no clashes with subjects that you are writing. If any of your subjects are scheduled with different papers at the same time, on the same date, you should bring that to the attention of your local registrar through your school or through your center. All clashes can be resolved. We've had clashes from time to time, but they can be resolved. So please check your timetables early and ensure that there are no clashes with the subjects you are writing. The examination timetables on our website have notes in the last pages of the timetable. And those notes provide some very useful information. So I urge you to read those notes. The notes provide guidance on specific guidelines for each subject. And there are also a list of resources that are required for some examinations. For example, those of you who are doing the modern language examinations using our e-testing online platform will need to have headphones or earphones. You will need your scientific calculators, silent scientific calculators. You'll need mathematical instruments for some of our examinations. There are some examinations that do not allow calculators, so you need to read your guidelines very carefully. Those candidates doing visual arts would need your specialized art supplies. So I urge you to prepare your resources well in advance of the examination. Dictionaries are allowed for Cape French and Spanish, paper 3. So, get your supplies in order, find out what resources you need, and equip yourself. Confirm the location of your examination. Yes, if you're a school, it is expected that you might write that examination at a school, but with social distancing, if the school cannot accommodate the candidates, they may be spilled over to an adjoining school or another center. So please confirm with your teacher, your school, or your local registrar the center that you are expected to write your examination at. Make arrangements to arrive at the center at least 30 minutes before the start of your first examination. Allow for traffic, changing of traffic schedules. Your bus might take a little longer than you expect. Your vehicle might have a delay. So make arrangements to ensure that you are at your center at least 30 minutes before the start of your first examination. You should walk with your examination timetable and picture identification. Perhaps if you're writing at your school and the invigilators are familiar with you, they may not ask for it. But it is crucial that you always have picture identification with you to enter your examination room. The question always comes up, what should I study for this examination? And especially since we're only writing, in most cases, paper 1 and the school-based assessment. Do I need to study the entire syllabus? Yes, you do. The syllabus details the topics to be covered in paper 1, and our examinations have high content validity. In other words, they cover the breadth of our syllabus. So it's not that the paper 1 will only focus on a particular section and the paper 2 will focus on another section. Most of our paper 1s cover the breadth of the syllabus. So I urge you to study as many topics as you can and not to focus on any single aspect of your syllabus. During the examination, follow the instructions given by the invigilators. The invigilators are in charge of the room and you need to be quiet, enter the room, follow the guidelines of the invigilators, the seating plan that has been set out, and they will guide you as to what should be done in the room. You will be provided with an MC answer sheet. It is what we call pre-slugged. It has some of the information already in it. Verify that that information is correct. The sample answer sheet that you will see is shown here. For the CAPE and CSEC, there will be 4 options, A, B, C, or D. For Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, if any of our students are here, you will have only 3 options from which to select. As I mentioned, the subject, your name, your registration number, and the test code for the paper that you're writing will already be on your answer sheet. Verify that that information is correct. And when you're sure that it is correct, affix your signature where it says signature of candidate. The answer sheet shown would be for the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment. It has only 3 options, A, B, C, and D. Now our answer sheets have 60 items. CSEC has 60 items on their paper, most of the examinations. CAPE have 45, CCSLC might have 50. You're only required to shade the number of items that match your paper. Leave all other items blank. As the invigilator shares the examination papers, ensure that you receive the correct examination paper. There are some students who do options in different subjects. Make sure you have the correct option. Ensure that the paper that you have been given is the paper that is timetabled and it is correct. Read all the instructions as instructed by the invigilator at the appropriate time on the cover of the examination paper. Ensure that your booklet contains all pages. Extra question papers are always sent to the center. Go through your paper from page 1 to the end and ensure that all pages are there. There should also be a receipt on the back cover of your booklet, which you will complete and sign and return to the invigilator. And most of all, plan your time wisely. You would be aware from your timetable of the length of the examination, and you will also be aware of how many items you have to respond to. Plan your time wisely. Read the entire question thoroughly. In fact, sometimes you might need to read the question more than once. If there's a stimulus, and a stimulus could be a series of questions, as you'll see later, it could be a paragraph, it could be a picture, it could be a chart, it could be a diagram of any type. Ensure that you understand what your syllabus says, what your syllabus refers to, what the diagram is about. Look at your stimulus and ensure that you understand it. Before you read the options, there are 4 options or 3 options for the CPEA. Decide, after you've read your question and looked at your syllabus, what is the answer to this question? In other words, think of the answer before you even look at your options. Now, read all of the options and select the option that best matches what you thought the answer was, and shade that appropriate bubble on the multiple choice answer sheet. So you're shading either A, B, C, or D based on what you think the correct response is. If you're not immediately sure what the correct response is, eliminate those options which you think cannot possibly be correct. Any item, however, that you cannot answer immediately, just move on to the next item and return to that item later. Now, what kinds of multiple choice items are there normally on these papers? You have the incomplete statement. A check is usually crossed in order to. So you have to say in your mind, why do we cross a check? So you're not looking at the options yet. A check is usually crossed in order to. So what is the reason for crossing a check? And then you check your options. Is it prevent theft, supply a special endorsement, allow a particular person to cash it, or indicate that the check must be deposited in an account? So it's an incomplete statement. It's an open question. The check is usually crossed in order to. And the option that you select finishes that statement. It makes the statement complete. We also have a direct question, which is a full question. Which of the following can have shares traded on the stock exchange? So immediately you go back to your knowledge of the stock exchange and shares, and you said, okay, before I look at the options, what would I select? And then you look at your 4 options and you match that to what you thought the answer was before. So that is a direct question. We also have a form of multiple choice called the best answer. The best answer means that there may be more than one answer, but one of them is more correct than the others. For example, a hotel gives vouchers for meals to its employees. This form of incentive is best described as a, is it a reward, a bonus, a fringe benefit, or a motivational scheme? So out of those 4 options, more than one could be correct, but one is the best option. So you're reading your 4 options and you're saying, this one stands out more correct than the others. We also have a form of multiple choice called a multiple response. Now you have to read this type of multiple choice very carefully, because sometimes, especially the younger students, think that the first 3 options are the options from which they select. But in fact, you can select either one of those options or combinations of those options. So which of the following methods can be used for written communication to staff members? Is it number 1, circulars? Is it number 2, letters, or is it number 3, index cards and files? Now, all of that is part of the question. The options are below A, B, C, or D. Now, A says we're going to choose one only. So if you think only circulars is the answer, you select one only. However, if you think only letters is the answer, you select 2 only. Perhaps the correct answer is circulars and letters, in which case you would select C, 1 and 2. Or perhaps it's letters and index cards and files, in which case you would select 2 and 3. So for the multiple response, it's not just one answer, but a single answer or combinations of answers. So you really need to read your options very carefully. Now we'll move on to an example with a stimulus. Now this stimulus is followed by the question. So the stimulus comes first. So remember I said to you, look at your stimulus and make sure you understand what your stimulus is about. So it says, and it always tells you which item the stimulus refers to. In many cases, a single stimulus could refer to more than one question. So in that case, you would see something like items 1 to 3 refer to the following table. But for our purposes, we're just using one item for this stimulus. So it says, item 1 refers to the following table, which shows a distribution of the ages of 25 children in a choir. So remember, understand the stimulus before you move on to the question. So our stimulus is a table. It has ages and it has number of students or pupils. So we have age 11, 6 persons are age 11, age 12, 3 children are age 12, and so on. So you understand your stimulus before you go to the question. And the question is, what is the probability that a child chosen at random is at least 13 years old? Now notice the words at least are in full caps, so they must be important. So take note of them, at least 13 years old. So you go back to your stimulus and you look for your answer, you work out your answer. And only then do you come to your options and you look for your answer and you see which answer matches what you have worked out or calculated. So this is a stimulus followed by a question. Sometimes your question is embedded with the stimulus. Now this also has options, but it's not like the multiple response. All of these options are important because we're looking at sequencing. So read your question very carefully. Which of the following is the most appropriate sequence to be used when writing a letter of application for a job? 4 things are given to you, numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you are required to select the order or sequence in which these things should be included in your letter of application. Option A says qualifications first, followed by list of references, then interest in the position, then the request for an interview. Option B says no, list of references is first, the request for an interview is second, qualifications is third, and the interest in the position is last. So you're a little bit confused. Read your question again and look at your stimulus, which is part of your question, before making your selection. Now you would have seen some very important words throughout in these examples of questions. Some of the words you would have seen would have been best, and you would have seen most likely. Now these words, whenever they appear in our items, are written as full caps because we want them to stand out so that you take note of them, because these words can make a difference in the response that you choose. So look out for words like best. Best, again, there's more than one option which could be possibly correct, but one of them is the best option. Not. Now be very, very careful with not. When you see not in your stem, it means that it is a negative. It is not what you think is correct, but what is not correct or what you should not do. So when you see the word not, Be very careful, read your STEM again, and make the correct selection. Main. Main is another important word. What is the main task? So it's not like what task do we do, but what is the main task? Or most likely. What is the most likely reaction from combining two chemicals? In other words, there are more than one reaction, but which is the most likely? Except, although we don't use except very often, you may see except, least, least likely, or at least. Now, that is the end of my presentation. I hope you have gained some knowledge, and I urge you once again to look at your questions carefully and read your questions carefully before responding. So our exam is over. What do we do next? Check that all of your items have been answered. Do not leave any items out. After you've completed your examination paper, you've come to the last item, whether it's item 60 for CSEC or 45 for Kate. Go through your answer booklet, your MC sheet, and make sure that there are no blank spaces. In addition, make sure that there's only one response for each item. Use your eraser and erase any item that has more than one bubble shaded. Read the item again and make the selection. One response for each item. That question booklet, your answer booklet, and your MC answer sheet have to be returned together. Place your MC answer sheet in the front inside cover of your answer booklet. Ensure that you have signed it with your name. If for any reason you requested scrap paper, you might be doing the online test and you requested scrap paper to work on, that has to be returned to the invigilator as well. No material that was received in the examination room should be taken out by you. The examination paper, the MC answer sheet, and scrap paper have to be returned. Ensure that you receive your candidate receipt from the invigilator. It is evidence that you were present at that examination. And having done all of that, wait on instructions from your invigilator before you leave the room. Thank you for listening. Good luck in your exams and study hard and stay safe. Thank you.